Baba nai baba ere. Hey. Ameno sisi kuitika ne quality, picture quality. Picture quality ameno zviri kufamba sei. Vajena. Wiri mai jecha. Zviri kufamba ere vajecha. Zviri kudini. Zviri kudini. Zviri kudini. Matitoita wekudini kuyawe. Tito wekudini. Azi nemwe munhu mbomira kuimba. Ndikati akomana. Akomana. Ndakumiswa kuimba nemunhu ari ku asiri kana mbocontributa anything guys. Imagine. Muri sei vana veZimbabwe. Makadi. Akomana one day randisina kuya kuita live vana wadondisuwa kudhara. Ndakasimba zviri kufamba ere. Hanzi dhiri iro vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo iro vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje gara mudhiriwo vakomana vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje mudhiriwo musatambe navo vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje gara mudhiriwo dhiriwo ravakomana dhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo komana vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje nogara mudhiriwo musatambe navo vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje gara mudhiriwo dhiriwo ravakomana dhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo vanogara mudhiriwo vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo ravakomana dhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo vakomana vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje gara mudhiriwo musatambe navo vanogara mudhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo ravakomana dhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo vanogara mudhiriwo vanogara mudhiriwo kana ndinobvonzwa kutapira naye regai nditi welcome the people of Zimbabwe. Manhero akanaka vana veZimbabwe. Mese muri kumativi mana enyika. Ladies and gentlemen, and the boys and girls, welcome to this show this evening, where we are going to talk a lot. We're going to talk a lot about Zimbabwe being brought on the spotlight by this election and by other issues that are very disappointing, ladies and gentlemen. We've got very, very disappointing issues which are coming out of Harare, particularly on verbal diarrhea. You know, when you have got people who disregard other people and who see other people as useless people in the world, then egocentric ke ZANU-PF iko kaya must be dealt with once and for all. Saka pakaipa guys. Regai ndinzwe kuti muri sei kumativi mana enyika mukoma gatsi zviri kufamba ere. Kuti ameno kuti muri sei kumativi mana enyika. First of all, I'm opening this presentation by borrowing a saying from Desmond Tutu, the late South African theologian, South African theologian, who was known as Desmond Tutu. Apana singazive mdara Desmond Tutu. He said, goodness is stronger than evil. I want you people to understand, this is from Desmond Tutu, a South African bishop. He said, goodness is stronger than evil. Love is stronger than hate. Light is stronger than darkness. Life is stronger than death. What I liked on this one is when he said, light is stronger than darkness. Right, if you go out now, it's very dark. Very, very dark outside. If you take a torch, you light, you clear darkness, and you start seeing things that you never saw when you were in darkness. I like what Desmond Tutu said. I'm interpreting, or I'm making it clear, a bit clear of what Mdala Desmond was saying. He said light is stronger than darkness. If there is light, try to cast your shadow. It won't work. It won't work. So light is stronger than darkness. I have said here, if you go outside, it's too dark there. Get your torch, you light it, you start seeing things that you never saw. This is exactly what has been done to retired soldier Anselm Sanyatwe. People did not understand what I wrote. I said Anselm Sanyatwe is feared dead. I did not say he died. People must start understanding English phrases. There are quite a lot of English phrases that people need to start understand. This is why I say people must spend a lot of time reading. Just read. General reading is good for your mind, guys. You open your mind and understand. I said, Anselm Sanyatwe is feared dead. I did not say he died. It's an English phrase that the gentleman is not being seen. People think he has been killed. Only that. But I never said Sanyatwe has been killed or is dead. As I understand, Sanyatwe, he went outside Zimbabwe into Tanzania, where he was on a diplomatic mission or as an ambassador of Zimbabwe to Tanzania. That was, this is exactly where Desmond Tutu said, light is stronger than darkness. Sanyatwe was in Zimbabwe, moved outside where there was darkness. He had a torch and started seeing things that he never saw, and called for Emmerson Mnangagwa to hand over power to the winner of this election, President Nelson Chamisa. It's a shocking saying that Sanyatwe eventually saw light in the darkness and saw things that he had never seen in life, and called for sanity to Zimbabwe. What I'm saying here is Zimbabwe elections, they have Zim elections. The 2023 Zimbabwe elections have put the country under a spotlight of the world. The world now understands Zimbabwe. The world now understands our situation in that country. And if you see those that general who deployed soldiers to kill innocent civilians in Harare CBD in 2018, after Mnangagwa lost the election and announced the results of his choice, which were not what the outcome of the election, and that led to massacre of almost 10 or so Zimbabweans shot and killed by Zimbabwe National Army or by presidential guard soldiers. So goodness is stronger than evil, ladies and gentlemen. If you do good, evil will be defeated. So life is stronger than death. This is what Desmond Tutu, what? This is what Desmond Tutu said when he spoke about our situation, our Zimbabwe. That saying is for our Zimbabwe situation, ladies and gentlemen. So that is what we want. Zimbabweans do not want war in their country. They don't want war in their country. Zimbabwe should not be distracted by the attempts by ZANU-PF people who are trying to preempt the SADC process, the SADC process on Harare. As I understand, the Troika, SADC Troika, it is meeting this week. I'm not sure when exactly, but it is meeting this week. I want you to know that. It is meeting this week. And Zimbabwe must forget the chairmanship of SADC next year. Zimbabwe must totally forget about it. If they persist in their disdain of this regional board, there is nowhere Zimbabwe is going to assume the leadership of SADC next year when the current government is not internationally recognized. So a lot of Zimbabweans do not understand these ZANU-PF people. I heard even Charamba himself, George Charamba, the spokesperson of the president's spokesperson, Hans Ramaphosa has called for a meeting on migration. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. South Africa is the main cause of our problems. But SADC once deployed 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗄𝗏 to come and solve our situation and failed. Now Ramaphosa rushed to authenticate or sanitize a rigged election, and the Zimbabweans are going down there. And they must hold that meeting because they must expect this year and probably next year, they must expect about 1 million more Zimbabweans trailing down South Africa because of the stupidity of Ramaphosa. So what I'm saying is Zimbabweans must not be distracted by the apparent attempts to preempt the SADC process in Harare, on Harare. SADC is going to, the Troika meets this week. I'm not sure when, because today is Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday and Friday. Between today and Sunday, Troika will meet and deliberate on the Zimbabwe issue. So if Zimbabwe continue to have, or if Mnangagwa continue to claim presidency of a rigged election that was results that were produced under a process condemned by all international organizations. It's not only SADC. European Union condemned it. The Carter Center condemned it. African Union condemned it. Different various observation groups, they condemned the election. So Zimbabwe, if it continues on that projectile, they must forget assuming the regional chairmanship next year. It is Zimbabwe's turn. Unfortunately, they won't assume that office. Now elections are done in Zimbabwe. So Ramaphosa is now doing 2024 campaign strategy blaming foreigners. He's an idiot. I am telling you, I don't hesitate to call Ramaphosa an idiot. That South African president is an idiot. And South Africans must be full aware that they are under the leadership of an idiot. So, if your leader is an idiot, then the people of that country automatically becomes idiots because they are under the leadership of an idiot. If they didn't want that idiot, South Africans should rise up and remove the idiot because he has shown he hasn't shown leadership qualities at this juncture. So if you look at what is happening, he is Shona from Zimbabwe. I'm not young. Ramaphosa. Such a Ramaphosa, a very stupid president of South Africa. So we are in a fix, ladies and gentlemen. Remember last time when I made this presentation, I spoke a lot about a period between 1978 and 1980. We have ended up with the 𝗪𝗃𝗃𝗃 dynasty, definitely. I spoke a lot about period 1978, 79 and 1980. I said to the people of Zimbabwe, I want to reiterate that in 1979, Zimbabwe, or it wasn't Zimbabwe, it was Rhodesia in 1979 being run by Ian Smith. Ian Smith conducted an election in 1979. That election ushered a new government in our country. It ushered a new government, a new country at the same time. That country was named Zimbabwe Rhodesia. And the prime minister of that country was Bishop 𝗂𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃. There was a president as well. I've forgotten this 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗃𝗂𝗃 guy who was a president during that time. Remember, that election also brought that country on international spotlight or world spotlight. World leaders condemned that election. Mugabe was asked about the outcome of the election, and Mugabe said he does not recognize the result because of the process the result was produced. And Mugabe vowed to continue with the liberation war. All liberation organizations, they said they were going back into the war, they were going back to fight so that Zimbabwe can have a free and fair election where each person was gonna allowed to vote, one man, one vote, and everybody was allowed to campaign without police hindrance and so forth. Whatever you are seeing today being done by ZANU-PF, these are the things that they fought against in the liberation war. But surprisingly, they've adopted those things back and they are oppressing the people of Zimbabwe. Bhutto, how are you? So as a result, ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabweans are saying no to ZANU-PF rule. In a similar way, ZANU-PF said no to Rhodesian Front rule. Because of similar, Zimbabweans are saying no because of similar policies and the policing that was used by Ian Smith during that time. The good part of Ian Smith, he did not allow his people to starve. Rhodesians never starved. We never starved. I was born in Rhodesia. Even if 𝗪𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 was born in Rhodesia. Most Zimbabweans today were born in Rhodesia. Some of them, they went to do master's degrees. They do the PhD degrees during that Rhodesian era. Today, you can't do it in Zimbabwe. I was born in Rhodesia. Rhodesian government did not allow us to starve. Rhodesian government built hospitals. They built infrastructure. They did quite a lot of things. If you go in Zimbabwe, most dams you see were built during Rhodesia. When Zimbabwe came, it never built anything. Rhodesian leadership had Rhodesians at heart. They made sure that Zimbabweans are immunized, a health system is available, the primary schools were built. How did I guess that you were singing Drora? You were dreaming at it, 𝗪𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. So today, if you look at today's government led by Emmerson Mnangagwa, These guys, they openly practice nepotism. They are practicing nepotism in all spheres and institutions of the government. They are not even ashamed to do it. They do it openly. When they do it openly, we point at them that, look, what you are doing is wrong. Then they tend to blame us. These are hypocrites, ladies and gentlemen. These are hypocrites. So they talk about Ian Smith's government doing this, killing people. I've read quite a lot of them attacking 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗀𝗃, that this is a white Rhodesian, this and that. But they are using Rhodesian laws. You understand? I said to one of them, look, 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗃, it's good that he has bounced back in politics and become mayor of the second largest city in our country. And I know 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗃 does not tolerate corruption. And the city of Bulawayo is going to be probably the best city in our country. So what I'm saying is, if you look at Idi Mnangagwa today, he has openly practiced nepotism without fear. Unoziva kunonzi kudherera vanhu, and ZANU-PF youth irita kuvava, vatita kuvava baba. But unfortunately, they can't do anything because chicken vakadya, vachimhanya vachirova vanhu, vachitema vanhu, vachiuraya vanhu, vachitakurwa nemabhazi, vachibheuka, vachifa, vachimuka, vachienda kumarare, vachinodya chicken. Saka chicken iyoyi yakapera now. No more chicken until probably 2028, if things does not work this week. Because this week there are deliberations on Zimbabwe by SADC. I think by next week we will hear SADC's decision, what SADC would have said about our country. Because we don't need war. We don't need war in our country. We don't need that. We want Zimbabweans to be free. We want Zimbabweans to be given freedom to choose the leadership of their choice. This is what Zimbabweans only want. We don't want anything else except being given this freedom or a right to choose a political leader of our choice. We don't want anyone to tell us that no, if you vote so and so, you'll be killed. If you do this, you'll be killed. We don't want that. We want Zimbabweans to just come from home, go into an election booth and vote for a person of their choice. Munhu wawa anzi tikudawo supply yepfuti itirwe hondo. Anzi hondo inonhuwa. Ndimavhurire hondo, ndimavhurire. Ndimavhurire hondo, ndimavhurire hondo. Inonhuwa hondo, inonhuwa. Kandiri kuimbira kakaipa mwana wamai. Unenge wakwidza gomo manje, wakasunga njombo pfurwa, wakatakura AK. Baba inenge ine, let's say une 5 magazines with 30 rounds each. Apa une zekerere, apa uri kurwa musango. Uri musango uchirwa hondo. Kana ari masoja anoti akarwa anombodzokera kumusha, ombonoona mhuri, ombogara, ombonakidzwa, opohora mari, ombonotenga zvavanotenga. And thanks Ngoma, we don't want, kana nyaya yedu iri kusadhaka. Yeah. Saka hondo, asiwo kana wari bheo manje, hauna pekudzokera, pekunofara, nekuita sei. Muchokocho uri musango, kusvika hondo yapera. Kana yapera hondo, ndopaunotanga kusununguka, kufarawo kana unoona dzimhuri kana kuita sei. Saka mwana ndaimba nchiti hondo tingaichemera, tingaida zvedu, but hondo inonhuwa, hondo ndimavhurire, hondo ndimavhurire. Ndimavhurire hondo, ndimavhurire. Ndimavhurire hondo inonhuwa. Ini ndakaiona hondo yechimurenga yekuma 70s, takaiona isusu. Handisati vafana tichikura tichiona hondo iyo. Saka mwana nchikuimbira kuti hondo inonhuwa, hondo ndimavhurire, hondo ndamavhurire. Mavhurire hondo, ndimavhurire. Ndimavhurire hondo inonhuwa. Inonhuwa hondo, inonhuwa hondo. inonhuwa hondo, inonhuwa. Kana mafunga hondo varume, garai pasi munyatsofunga kuti makuda hondo here. Because kana tatanga hondo, hondo inonetsa kudzokera kumashure tatanga. Saka mandiri kuimbira iti hondo, inonhuwa hondo, nimavurire hondo, nimavurire. Mavurire hondo, inonhuwa. Inonhuwa hondo, inonhuwa hondo. Isakaiona hondo. Asi kana mafunga zvehondo wakomana, no one can stop you. Magandanga akaenda kuhondo aya, no one stopped them. Kana time yakwana inenge yakwana. But what I'm assuring the people of Zimbabwe today, what I'm talking about, zvamainzwana 𝗂𝗃𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗶, I told you last time that 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗰𝗁 can be spokesperson of the country, or of the president. But he lacks knowledge about the diplomatic channels that SADC take. He said he was giving a timeline of saying, pachazotanga kusita striker meeting, pachazotanga kuita say it will be by August next year, Zimbabwe would have assumed the leadership of SADC, ya chairperson. Ndikati, from there I told people, he is just talking about being flabbergasted and so forth. Those are big words for nothing. That gentleman is an empty-headed idiot. Saka, I told people, I warned the people here, that 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗰𝗁 lacks knowledge. He doesn't know. The problem with 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗰𝗁 is he does not know that he does not know. Very simple. He thinks he knows. He comes to people and try to preach things that he doesn't know. The protocols of SADC are clear. And Zimbabwe is a SADC nation. 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗰𝗁 being the spokesperson of 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, and he went on to be the spokesperson of Robert Gabriel Mugabe for 30-something years. Went on to be the spokesperson of Emmerson Mnangagwa. 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗰𝗁 spent all this time in a library reading speeches that were delivered by other presidents in different countries, then converted them into speeches that he wrote for Gabriel Mugabe, for Sodindo Banana, and now for Emmerson Mnangagwa. That guy does not have time to read international affairs. He doesn't have time. His time is to cram a dictionary. His time is to cram a student companion. His time is to polish his English, to say, I need to write very good English. I need to speak very good English. But when it comes to foreign policies, to how SADC operates, how United Nations operates, how AU operates, what is the constitution for SADC and the constitution for the AU and so forth, that guy is ignorant. He does not know anything. Because I listened to him, highly sounding, but saying little or saying nothing. You understand? Someone might be highly sounding while saying nothing. So when I listened to him, I concluded that this gentleman does not know. But unfortunately, he does not know that he does not know. You understand? But today, let me assure you that SADC Troika is meeting this week. When they meet, they are going to deliberate on issues, on the way forward for Zimbabwe. Remember, I said, the report has already been written. The elections have been already condemned. The process was condemned. The report, to be honest with you guys, ZANU-PF will sweat this time. They will sweat over SADC report. If they don't sweat about this report, I'm not sure that ZANU-PF will sweat again. As the ruling junta in our country tries to block any further talks regarding the rigged elections in Zimbabwe, the SADC election observer mission report 1, the report is irreversible. This is what I want Zimbabweans to understand, wherever you are. Understand that SADC election observation mission report is irreversible. no one is going to reverse that report. That's the first fact that Charamba does not know. George Charamba, Benson Matinyararire, Patrick Chinamasa, these are ignorant idiots, people who do not understand the protocols of how SADC work. Zambia, I'll touch a little bit about that Zambian issue. But what I'm talking today about is how Zimbabwe came on spotlight, how our elections led to our country to be on spotlight of the world. That includes as well the issue about Zambia. The issue about Zambia. It is putting again Zimbabwe on spotlight. And all these are the as a result of a rigged election in our country. So Zimbabweans must understand that the SADC Election Observation Mission report or observer mission report, that report is irreversible. No one is going to reverse that report. And the report is historic in our region, because there is nowhere this has happened. And Zimbabwe is setting precedents. Zimbabwe is setting precedents. And SADC do not want to be seen destroying their reputation. They want to make Zimbabwe, 𝗀𝗲𝗰𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃 or Zimbabwe an exemplar. So the report is historic. On its own, it's historic. There is nowhere this has ever happened, or nowhere this has ever been said. So it is irreversible. The report is historic. And the report is unchangeable. It's another way of saying irreversible. No, it's irreversible. It's unchangeable. The report now cannot be edited. SADC cannot edit the report now, because the report is on their table. It's on their table. A final report has been tabled to them. They cannot edit it. The final report is there and cannot be edited. The report was written by 20 out of 25 members of the team and read by the SADC Election Observation Mission. Observer mission, or head of the observer mission, was given that report. He was given that report. And he read it. He tabled it before SADC. Those people who sent him to go to Zimbabwe and observe the elections. And this report was written by 20 out of 25 members. Because the observer mission had 25 members. 20 wrote this report in agreement against the 25. So only 5 were no longer there, but 20 were there, and they wrote this report. So the report answers 3 things. That report answers 3 things. First thing that the report answers is the Zimbabwe Constitution. Right? The second thing is Zimbabwe Electoral Act that puts laws that govern how elections are conducted in our country. And the third thing, it answers the SADC guidelines on elections and democracy. These are the 3 things that the report answers. And as you know, that the ZEC is supposed to comply with the constitution of the country, and the ZEC was supposed to comply with the Electoral Act of the country. These were 2 instruments that the ZEC used to run an election, or uses to run an election in Zimbabwe. If they breach any of the 2, the election is null and void. It's clear. I'm not sure to my Zimbabweans, because there is a guy, angachindisendera messages, chamisa what. There is nothing that our president can do at the moment. Because when Chamisa start opening his mouth and address masses today, I am telling you, the mass will revolt. The mass will revolt. But we are saying, why can't we give chance to SADC? SADC Observer Mission, let's give it a chance. Let's give this report a chance. Don't listen to 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗶. Those people, they've got little knowledge. Don't listen to 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗶. 𝗂𝗱𝗃𝗃 is someone at the end of life. I know Ndanyora, but when I don't say Ndanyora, Kuti Mnangagwa must put 𝗂𝗃𝗃 on end of life care plan right now. 𝗂𝗃𝗃 must be on end of life care plan. Because akusina kwa achaenda neupenyu beyond what he is doing today. Muna ango create chaos in the region. Muna ango siya destroy ZANU-PF. I don't know why ZANU-PF continue to give such idiots positions and finance what with ZANU 𝗂𝗃𝗃. Saka, what I'm saying here is, don't listen to 𝗂𝗃𝗃. Don't listen to Benson Matinyararire. Don't listen to George Charamba. Don't listen to Nick Mangwana. When Nick Mangwana was in the United Kingdom, he was in university studying nursing degree. Nick is just a nurse. Nick Mangwana, you can't compare him and Nick Mangwana. Because Nick Mangwana kamudu hero degree forensic ita masters haisimuze. Hero degree forensic ita applied science and forensic investigation haisimuze. Those are talked around. I'm better educated than Nick Mangwana. I don't know people who listen to Nick Mangwana or reading what Nick Mangwana write. Kana kuterera Benson Matinyararire wandakanyara kutaura forensic investigation of an accident. Don't venture into that area is my specialty. Akutora zvakafanira kuti unongoshtaura kana kuti mavhiri emotikari. Ukatarisa vhiri remotikari pane matems anoshandiswa nevanhu vakagadzira vhiri remota. Varidzi vakagadzira mota vanoziva mavhiri kuti iri vhiri rakati. Kana kuti vhiri iri kana rakanyorwa zvakati voreva zvakati. Iwo kana uri just a driver, a lay person, you cannot understand that. Pane technical terms that we use in forensic science, which Benson Matinyararire was trying to educate Zimbabweans about, whilst he was lying. I went there and said, this shame boy, you are lying to the people. Why can't you tell them the truth? So the problem is ignorant people. They want to be seen in the forefront. They want to be talkative. They think they are champions of everything. Whilst they are nothing. They know nothing. Benson Matinyararire knows nothing. Nicky Mangwana knows nothing. George Charamba knows nothing. Patrick Chinamasa knows nothing. Patrick Chinamasa angari Attorney General weZimbabwe. Achita dubious decisions. Ukamubvunza I think akaita law correspondence chete. Hapana law dzinozikanwa na Chinamasa uyo. Angari Attorney General achikanda vanhu kumajeri vasina mhosva. Andimona. Saka he does not know how SADC operates. So the report, ladies and gentlemen, that SADC Election Observer Mission's report, it binds 16 countries. And it's the first of its kind. It is going to set precedents in SADC. Mark my words. Mark my words. So 𝗂𝗃𝗃 failed to pass an examination that it was given. It failed. 𝗂𝗃 did not pass in all these three things that I was saying. That 𝗂𝗃 was supposed to use the Constitution of Zimbabwe to run our elections. 𝗂𝗃 was supposed to implement the requirements of the Zimbabwe Electoral Act to run an election. And 𝗂𝗃 failed in these two things. Above all, it was supposed to know the guidelines of democratic elections set by SADC. They were supposed to utilize those guidelines they were supposed to align electoral laws in our country, the constitution of electoral laws with the constitution of Zimbabwe, and our constitution should have aligned with the guidelines, or the guidelines of SADC and the constitution should have been aligned to say the minimum requirements of this guidelines, constitution and electoral act have been met. SADC election observer mission was gonna say elections were free and fair, but ZEC failed to align the constitution of Zimbabwe, the electoral act, and the SADC guidelines on elections and democracy. So as a result, the whole process was condemned. After this whole process was condemned, a report was written, and that report is irreversible. That report is historic. That report is unchangeable. The report cannot be edited. And the final report has been tabled before SADC. And SADC is going to use that report to put a map, or to map a way forward on how Zimbabwe should, how things should happen now in our country. But Zimbabwe should assume the chairmanship of SADC next year. So under these conditions, if we don't have a government, SADC has got no obligation of handing over chairmanship to a member who is unstable. Amungatarise kuti imi muri muklasi kana kuti muri muklasi group leader wenyu arwara zvokuti achakwanisa kana kusimuka kana kutaura, mobva mamutaura kuti mabasa group leader aita haazvikwanisi izvozvo nokuti arwara. Zimbabwe yarwara, inoda kuti imbotanga yarapwa mbichana if it is to assume any other leadership of any organization where it affiliates. Saka zvaku Zimbabwe, hazeki Zimbabwe electoral corruption, pakaipa. Hazeki zvora wati Zimbabwe electoral corruption namukoma chichi. Saka muri kuona nyaya yati kutaura, there are implications, ladies and gentlemen. Hanzi musakanganwa kuisa ku YouTube live mukoma. Thanks Wayne. I'll edit. So what I'm saying now, ladies and gentlemen, there are implications. There are implications on this. If SADC tempers, changes, disowns or rejects the report, there will be no need of the mission in any elections in the region. This is a serious implication on SADC. This is as before elections nyika inotongwa nekuvakwa nevene vayo. After elections nyika inotongwa nekuvakwa nevana vangu. Bdara uyaya. Zvakaoma. Azimi yabatwa nemanyoka. Haingaregere ipapa mukoma chichi. Because report yeSADC now ine ma implications. This report, SADC election observation missions report, has got some implications on the organization as SADC. The major implication is that if SADC tempers with the report, if SADC changes anything in that report, if SADC disowns or rejects the report, there will be no need of the mission in any election in the region. They want, because if you send a mission, they must bring back a feedback, a report. And if you are not there as SADC leaders, then the report is tabled to you by the people you delegated. The people with that obligation of producing that report. So when it comes to you, there is nothing that you should reject. There is nothing that you should disown. You should never change anything from that report. That will ensure the next mission you send the SADC. Next is South Africa. Next year South Africa is holding elections. Then SADC observer mission will be in South Africa as well. And they want to see if South African election board is following its constitution. It's following its electoral laws and the guidelines of SADC on principles of democracy. They must be followed. So the serious implications on this is that if SADC rules otherwise on the report, then there is no need of any mission anywhere in the 16 countries of the SADC. Just because they cannot do this just because of Zimbabwe. They cannot tamper with the report just because of Zimbabwe. They cannot change anything on that report because of Zimbabwe. But because of Zimbabwe now, if they do otherwise, then that implicate or that impact on future observer mission of SADC in any election. It will be like a toothless bulldog now. No other organ of SADC can be taken seriously once they rule otherwise. So I want to assure you that tag Chinamasa on this presentation, tag Benson Matanyararire in this on this presentation, and the tag George Charamba. I want to teach him, I want him to understand that SADC is not going to compromise its position because of Zimbabwe. Because once they compromise their position, that means the SADC organization won't be taken seriously. And all its deliberations will be ignored. So these dictators will do whatever they want, and they will disregard any decision made by SADC. So SADC has to be firm and fair. T-next it justice. SADC has to T-next it justice. It has to be firm and fair on this, on Zimbabwe. Because once they fail to do what is right for the country, then the SADC organization will disintegrate. People will just start to disband it. Countries will just say, we are no longer SADC members. They will disband it. They will disband it. You understand? Because SADC will be a useless board and it will disband. So those are the implications of this report. It's a time bomb for SADC. African Union itself, it will become a useless or a toothless bulldog and a club of spineless leaders. Because of ZANU-PF, they will be useless, they will be toothless because of ZANU-PF. So there are extraordinary meetings that these people can hold and they can deliberate on these issues without favor and fear. Who is ZANU-PF after all? Who is ZANU-PF after all? Who is ZANU-PF after all? Because if they continue with this trajectory, with this self-destruction speed that they are traveling, the supersonic speed that ZANU-PF is traveling at, ZANU-PF is going to crash very soon. And once they crash, you know, they will be hit by regional sanctions. SADC wants to make Zimbabwe an exemplar so that next time they want every country to respect them. Because if they don't stand firm on Zimbabwe, no country will ever respect SADC. No decision will come from SADC will be implemented in the region. And the region will disintegrate or it will just disband. So there are options available, ladies and gentlemen. There are options here available. New elections run by either SADC or United Nations or both is an option that SADC must consider. This option was once considered in Rhodesia in 1979 with an election that ushered a new country, Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, and a new Prime Minister, Bishop Abel Tendeka. That election was a sham election which all participants and observers condemned. What happened? United Nations brought them on the table in Lancaster House, Munomu, United Kingdom. It invited all the stakeholders, sat down and discussed that issue. What happened? This is what I'm thinking now, that if SADC wants to be transparent and clear, they must invite all those who participated in this election and communicate to them their decision. Like what happened in Lancaster House, where Mugabe's wana Mugabe vanani vese vakainvitwa vakauya wana 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗀 vanani, they deliberated on this issue after a sham election in 1979 that ushered Zimbabwe Rhodesia and the new Prime Minister Bishop 𝗂𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 This is why you say history repeats itself. This must be done again on this election. Invite all the stakeholders. Communicate to them your roadmap, what SADC believes, and hear both sides, what both sides say. Because no matter what results came out of this election, even if we say President Chamisa won or Mnangagwa won, but because of the flawed process, the results are condemned. They are null and void. Results are null and void. So the option here is for SADC and the United Nations to initiate for fresh pools in our country that they will supervise. Ndichanzomwa chintararanzi vanhu vacharohwa ipapa. Kurohwa munenge mane SADC, munenge mane United Nations kaum. Kana zvanetsa vanounza 𝗵𝘃𝗴𝗂𝗃𝗃 ka. Vanhu voswera vakagadwa vanhu vasingarohwi. Kangorohwa munhu chete otatwa nemapeacekeepers. That is possible. SADC inogona kutounganidza mapurisa chaiwo kana 10,000 vanouya kuzoshanda during that time vachishanda muZimbabwe. Vachishandisa zvitoksi zvenyu futi nemajaji enyu muchisungwa. Ukarohwa munhu osungwa neSADC. Kuendeswa kucourt. They can do that. Because takatombounganidza mauto one tikaenda kuDRC kunobatsira Congo. Saka why can't we unganidza mapurisa and bring them to Zimbabwe to help Zimbabwe Republic Police kuti munhu asungwa vese arohwa munhu apisa musha wese ngaasungwe. Come on guys, musadherera SADC. Saka tikutaura kuti options available at this juncture is for SADC to make sure they initiate fresh pools that they will supervise, or United Nations will come and supervise. Right? The second option that could be there is for a transitional authority constituting 𝗵𝘃𝗴𝗂𝗃𝗃, ZANU-PF, civil society, churches. This will give them an opportunity to reform electoral laws and subsequently run elections. A transitional institution or authority to be set up by these two major political parties, including civil society and churches, and initiate reforms to say in about 6 months or 8 months, we will go into a fresh election. So, this is a second option for Zimbabwe. The last option for SADC is probably a government of national unity, of which I don't think President Chamisa would agree to a government of national unity. Because we have been there. We have seen ZANU-PF and ZAPU running a government of national unity, which changed both parties to be thieves and start stealing from us. So we don't need a government of national unity. We saw another government of national unity in 2009 that ushered Tsvangirai as a prime minister. And the results are that Tsvangirai ended up being given polonium-10 that destroyed his offers. Ndara achibva afa. Andi murugona. Saka government of national unity consisting of parties in parliament to run until next election, fixing laws in the process could be on the pipeline. So a handing over of government power to the rightful winner, Nelson Chamisa, is the last option. Kuti SADC inogona, all right, takuita tally ma results. ZEC uyai nawo, 𝗵𝘃𝗴𝗂𝗃𝗃 uyai nezvamunazvo. Togara pasi takuerenga ma presidential results chete. SADC inogona kudaro. Kuti all right, but kuti vadaro manje ivo panonetsa nekuti process ndo yavakakondema. Saka that option obvious is out. They can tally and hand over election victory to the winner. because the process did not produce a winner. Results were condemned. The process was condemned. And Saka, this is what is there, ladies and gentlemen, at the moment. This is what we think at the moment. That things gonna work the way people would want, and that is the only way. Options which are there. I've spoken of government of national unit, which we are not going to agree to that. A national transitional authority that will be run by parties in parliament, which has got majority, and the civil society to prepare for fresh pools. When we say prepare for fresh pools, is to make sure that they can say for the next 2 months they are going to register, to make sure that every Zimbabwean is registered and your electoral register is clear with the actual people in the voters' roll. They can do that. Then they can make sure that those who never had the chance to vote, as Zimbabwe has got 8 million potential or of people of voting age. So they might want every Zimbabwean to take part, to participate in this, so they can register more people, then clean the voters' roll, produce electronic copies, and give to ZANU-PF, CCC, and other stakeholders to see. Then they can call for census results and see how many people are in Harare East, how many people are in them, how many people should the constituents constitute. Then they can help in delimitation, in proper delimitation of the constituencies, so that you don't create more constituents in rural areas, giving advantage to those who uses violence to say this is a no-go area. Chamisa is not allowed to go this way. Then they block and attack him. That does not show that Zimbabwe is a democratic nation. So a transitional government will work on that. Then they can say elections in a year or elections in 8 months' time. And them Saka ipapo ndo patukutaura kuti everything now that is going to happen now has put Zimbabwe on the spotlight of the world. World leaders are now concerned about Zimbabwe. The person who killed Mugabe, if Mugabe did what Nelson Mandela did, our country would be very good. Yes. And so many individuals and the world leaders, ladies and gentlemen, are critical of our election process. This everywhere now, they are critical of this election process, and now they are closely watching to see how ZEC or how ZANU will respond to any SADC ruling. We saw how they responded to the report. We saw how ZANU-PF responded to the report. The problem with the likes of George Charamba, one was not knowledge, they are not knowledgeable. He should have understood that Zimbabwe now needs to use diplomatic etiquette when approaching such a sensitive issue. Because you are talking of an organization like SADC, where you are a member state. You joined there. You signed, you appended your signature that you are going to abide by the laws of SADC. So they should have known that since the elections were condemned because of the process that was used to conduct that election, they should, the Charambas, the Vanachinamasa, and the Benson Matinyarara Vargutukao, they should have responded using diplomatic etiquette. There is nowhere you can start attacking President of Zambia. What crime did the President of Zambia commit? Assuming the leadership of that organization, is that a crime? No. And the leadership is rotational. He is the current chairman. You cannot issue death threat to Hlakalai Hichilema for observing your elections. ZANU-PF, if it was not comfortable with the SADC, they were supposed to have told SADC to stay away. Say, look, we don't want SADC observer mission in our country. They should have said that. But they know that they are a member state of SADC, and the SADC has to be there. They invited them to come. They did not invite Zambia to come. They invited SADC to come. And Zambia is the only chairperson of SADC at this juncture. So there is no need of personal attacks on Hakainde Hichilema. Because you have seen how Benson Matinyararire wrote on Twitter. He cannot write that without the blessing of Zimbabwe government. He cannot write that without the blessings of Zimbabwe president. As far as people understand, Benson Matinyararire speaks on behalf of Zimbabwe president, speaks on behalf of ZANU-PF. He has been propping ZANU-PF with all his type of engagement, like sanctions must go, this and that. Now, he has been told by Emmerson Mnangagwa to issue death threats to Zambian president. You cannot do that to a sitting president. That's disrespectful. Because right now, Zambians are responding. Zambians are responding. So Benson Matinyararire was given a blue light or a green light, a go ahead by ZANU-PF to write whatever he was writing. He was writing that Hakainde Hichilema must be killed. This is what Benson Matinyararire wrote. He wrote that Zambian president must be killed. He confessed that Zambia's president 𝗵𝘃𝗴𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗶 was killed by ZANU-PF. Those utterances or verbal diarrhea, they are the result of many wars. Go to Rwanda if you still remember what caused the Rwandese genocide. I am telling you guys, if we don't be careful with such utterances, then we are going to cause diplomatic rows between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And probably, if this escalates, we are going to have a war between Zimbabwe and Zambia. I want you to mark my words. Remember, Rwanda is an ethnically charged country, where they've got Tutsis and Hutus in Zambia. I mean, in Rwanda. So let me check this president who was killed, who sparked a civil war in Rwanda. Let me check his name. Kanapana anoziva sarake. Causes of Rwandese genocide. If you look at the causes, it was because of a president who was killed. I'll check on this one. The genocide in Rwanda was sparked by the death of the Rwandan president, 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗀𝗋 Habyarimana. A Hutu, he was a Hutu when his plane was shot down above Kigali airport. I want you to understand this. That a Rwandese president, battery. Is it my battery? Battery Shapiro. Sorry, 𝗪𝗲𝗰𝗂𝗋𝗃. I'm talking about the causes of genocide in Rwanda, or a war that killed almost 1 million people in Rwanda. It was caused by a very stupid incident where a Hutu president was killed. His name was President Juvenal Habyarimana. His plane was shot down above Kigali airport. His plane was shot down and he died. That caused an uproar in Rwanda and a genocide, which saw almost 1 million Rwandese dying because of the death of their president. Right, so Zimbabwe is repeating the same. Don't forget here that Zimbabwe and Zambia was one nation. It was a federal country. Today, Zambia is still a federal country. I'll check for you. I need to give you facts. How many countries form Zambia? It is a federal country. I had no idea that Zambia is a federal country. I only learned it recently that Zambia is a federal country. It is a country, there is, let me see, countries that constitute Zambia. I'm trying to get this, so countries that constitute Zambia. There are about 2 or 3 countries that constitute Zambia. I had no idea. A landlocked country, it shares border with what. I read it somewhere when I was talking to someone who said, do you know that Zambia is probably 2 or 3 countries combined to form one country? I'll get this information again and I'll come back to you with the correct information. I don't want to give you wrong information, but Zambia, I had no idea until that was raised to me that, do you know Zambia is a federal country? About 2 or 3 countries form Zambia. So Zambia and Zimbabwe, they were together in a federal country with one government, which was split when Zambia gained independence around 1963. But Zimbabwe remained under colonial rule. So this killing of 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗀𝗂𝗰𝗂𝗀, Zimbabwe is confessing to have killed 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. This is a dangerous confession. And this confession came from Patrick Chinamasa and Benson Matinyararire. It's a very stupid confession. I don't want to lie, guys. Imagine Zambia, they were desperately in need of 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂, but Zimbabwe went on to kill 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. Or Zambia, or ZANU-PF went on to kill 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. And this has just come out now, that 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 was killed by ZANU-PF. Just imagine. How do you think Zambians would react on such information? Even Edgar Lungu himself, fully aware that 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 was killed by ZANU-PF, he won't be happy. He's not a happy man at this juncture. And there are rumors that he has been, when he was invited to the inauguration, 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝗂𝗀𝗃 Mnangagwa's inauguration, they invited Lungu to give him money and a strategy to go and kill Hakainde Hichilema in Zambia. Then Chinamasa is confessing to that. Benson Matinyararire is confessing to that. And Zimbabwe's invitation of Edgar Lungu instead of the sitting president strengthens their idea that ZANU-PF is plotting the assassination of Hakainde Hichilema. If they once killed 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗃, what would stop them killing Hakainde Hichilema? So I'm not sure how Zambians would respond to that. But I've seen some demonstrations, particularly in Dola. I've seen people in Dola, Zambian youth, demonstrating against Benson Matinyararire and Hakainde Hichilema. So they said they want to engage United Nations. This can lead, probably, 𝗪𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗃 would be, there would be excavation or exhumation. He is likely to be exhumed so that his body can go for post-mortem again. When both they will look at the previous post-mortem, then there are some tests that they will do to check if this gentleman was not poisoned. I know he's a well-preserved body wherever he's buried, and tests can still be conducted to see if there are elements which are still which can be detected that caused his death. Yeah, I think Edgar Lungu, they must not allow him to leave Zambia at this moment now. Because he is dangerous. He is complicit to the killing of 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗲. So I don't think Zambia needs to allow him to leave the country. He must be put under house arrest so that he can explain his shenanigans with the ZANU-PF. Because he has been invited to come and receive his payment for the killing of 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗲. Imagine Benson Matinyararire and ZANU-PF confessing to the killing of Lev Mwanawasa. And they are now targeting 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗲. You don't know for what reason these gentlemen are trying to kill 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗲. But if you look at all these now presidents, in Frederick Chiluba died, Kenneth Kaunda died, Levi Mwanawasa died, Rupia Banda, I think, he died again. Michael Sata, I'm not sure whether he's still alive or he died. Understand? So we are at a crossroad with Zambia at this moment, being caused by very foolish people uttering rubbish on the international arena, causing a diplomatic row between Zimbabwe and Zambia. So Zambia, we don't know, Zambia, if we look at Zambia, how do we conduct ourselves as neighbor? How are we going to look at Zambia as a neighbor? Because as far as I understand, we are one country. So if I look at Zambia, Zambia is our friend. Zambians are our friends. And Zambia is a leader in freedom and democracy. Because imagine, since Kenneth Kaunda was defeated by Frederick Chiluba, and Chiluba being defeated by Levi Mwanawasa, before Levi Mwanawasa died and Rupia Banda came in. After Banda, then Michael Sata came in. Michael Sata, Edgar Lungu, and today we have got 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗲. Look at how many, from 1980, let me safely say, from 1980 up to now, Zambia has seen about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 presidents. Zimbabwe has got only one, and the second president, while Zambia had 8 presidents, Zimbabwe had only 1 president. So if you look at that, you can tell that democracy works in Zambia. There is freedom in Zambia. And Zambia is a leader in freedom and democracy in our region. We must be emulating Zambians rather than threatening to kill the president. And so our global diplomacy, ladies and gentlemen, is vital under these conditions. How Zimbabwe conducts itself and the information we share, especially to the world, it really impacts our ability to forge a global and steadfast alliance. The way we share our information as Zimbabweans, the way we interact with the other nationals from different nations, Zambians. Imagine if you look at Zimbabwe and Zambia, Zimbabweans, they are traveling from Zimbabwe, going to Zambia for medical attention. If you go to Zambia today, most hospitals in Zambia are filled with the Zimbabweans. Because if you go to South Africa, South Africans will put a ring around your neck and set you alight. South Africa don't want Zimbabweans in South Africa. This is why you see Ramaphosa now has called for a meeting on immigration, discussing immigrants from Zimbabwe. Because the same immigrants from Zimbabwe, they protested. They showed Ramaphosa that why are you supporting dictatorship? And Ramaphosa want to get rid of them. Probably he went to Zimbabwe to be paid to go and do that. But ZANU-PF feels threatened by those people in South Africa. So I am not sure, government, ladies and gentlemen, the information that has been shared by Chinamasa and 𝗵𝘃𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 is too sensitive to spark a war between two countries. How are we going to deal with Zambia? Zambians are our friends. Zambia is our neighbor. Zambia is a leader in freedom and democracy in our region. And there is no point of blaming Zambians on our own failures. We have got a 𝗀𝗃 that was appointed by Mnangagwa. Inside the 𝗀𝗃, all commissioners are their children. And they put their children to circumvent the constitution of the country, not to follow the electoral laws of 𝗀𝗃. 𝗀𝗃 knows the electoral laws of Zimbabwe. It knows the constitution of Zimbabwe. It knows the guidelines of SADC. But because their children there, they saw that their parents would lose elections, and they circumvented all these processes, and the elections were condemned. These are the results of nepotism, ladies and gentlemen. They practice this nepotism whilst people watch. They openly practice it. They don't fear. Mwana wa 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗶 is a commissioner in 𝗀𝗃. Mwana wa 𝗵𝘃𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 is a commissioner in 𝗀𝗃. Mwana wa 𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 is a commissioner in 𝗀𝗃. Mwana wa Emmerson Mnangagwa is a commissioner in 𝗀𝗃. Muzukuru wa Mnangagwa is a commissioner in 𝗀𝗃. They practice this nepotism in every sphere and institution of government. And when kana vachinge vakanya basa saizvozvi, you blame Zambia. You don't blame yourselves. You don't blame your nepotism. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, this impacts on Zimbabwe. And it impacts on our ability to forge ahead in a global and steadfast alliance. No country will ever want to be our friends under such conditions. We have seen, I'm shocked. We have seen some of the hate that Chinamasa and Benson Matinyararire threw at Zambia. We have seen their frustration. Instead of getting frustrated by Mnangagwa, who appointed 𝗀𝗃 that is filled with their offsprings, that 𝗀𝗃 appointed in a nepotistic way, they must be angry about their president. They must be angry about Mnangagwa, who is their leader. You don't know why they are targeting 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃. He never told 𝗂𝗵𝘃𝗲𝗃 to bring his son to 𝗀𝗃. 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 never told Kembo Mohadi to employ his daughter in 𝗀𝗃. He never did that. We don't know why they are throwing their hate to 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 in Zambia. I don't know why ZANU-PF is frustrated about Zambia and 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃. And I don't know why this hate and frustration is directed to SADC election observer mission. I don't know why their hate is directed there. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot help but think that Chinamasa and Benson Matinyararire, they do not know Zambians very well. And they do not understand Zambian politics. Those people have been voting presidents in and out of their politics. If you don't do what Zambians want, they will vote you out. This is why you see they were demonstrating. They've got love of their president. The only African president who refused to get a salary whilst he's in office. He said, my salary should be channeled to the need. He said, there is no, I'm a rich man. I've got a farm, I've got a mansion, I've got cattle, I'm rich already. Why should I come into government to receive from the poor? Whilst I can contribute to the poor. He is the only president in the history of SADC or Africa to say, don't put me on salary. I don't deserve a salary. I am serving my nation. I don't deserve to be paid. And Zimbabwe is frustrated. Zimbabwe is frustrated. The Zimbabwe hate that. If you want to see a friend in need, Zambia. A friend in need is Zambia. So we need to understand their politics. You need to understand 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗧's politics. Zambia is a nation of heart, a nation of passion, and a nation of compassion. Zambia is compassionate. This is why you see they allow Zimbabweans to go to Zambia to receive medication. My sekuru and Jadzamai Vangu died in Zambia. After we failed to take him anywhere in Zimbabwe, but there were no nurses, there were no doctors, and Chiwenga was the Minister of Health by that time. There was no working health system. We sat down as a family, we decided to take our uncle across the border to Zambia, where he was given mubeda. And it was cheap for us to pay in Zambia. So when I look at Zambia, I look at a nation that has got a heart, a passionate nation, a compassionate nation, unlike South Africa. If you go to South Africa, we saw videos in South Africa. Ramaphosa's Minister of Health was going around hospitals, chucking or sacking Zimbabweans, chucking Zimbabweans out. Go back to your country. What do you want? You want to be treated. In South Africa, Zimbabweans were chucked out. They were chased away from hospitals. Instead, killed them. A lot of Zimbabweans were killed in South Africa when they went to seek medication in South Africa. A lot of pregnant women, they crossed the border just to go to South Africa to give birth. But South Africans chased them away. Some of them ended up like Sango. So if you compare Ramaphosa's country and 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗰𝗁𝗄𝗧's country, you can tell that Zambia is a friend. Zambia is the only nation with a nation of heart, a nation of passion, a nation of compassionate. You can't compare Zambia to South Africa, where people who are sick are chased away from hospital in South Africa. If South Africans see you outside, seated there with the tremors, you're feeling cold, you're sick, you're not healthy, you're suffering, they can come and laugh at you, take tires, put them, ring your neck, set you alight, then they kill you. Come on, go back to Zimbabwe. It's happening in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening in Ramaphosa's country, South Africa. Zimbabweans are suffering. So if we compare the two countries, we are receiving medical treatment in Zambia. I don't talk of Botswana. Towards the election, you saw the Kumbas deporting Zimbabweans back to Zimbabwe. And the people are saying it's very difficult to gain asylum in Zambia, the way they are treating Zimbabweans. So the only country that we can go to where we are accepted is Zambia. And for this Benson Matinyararire, who is protected by Ramaphosa in South Africa, I don't know why South Africans don't chuck him out. Or South Africans deal with Benson there. Because the problem that they are seeing in South Africa are coming from Benson Matinyararire's part. They employ him, they give him a job, they give him somewhere to stay, whilst they kill the innocent. You understand what I mean? So, we have received care in Zambia. This is a neighbor who ensured that health care is provided, food is provided. I used to cross into Zambia to do business in Zambia. buying and selling things in Zambia. It is a country where you walk freely. I would I'm a foreigner in this country, Zambia. No. Every Zambian, I've been in Zambia myself. I've done business in Zambia. I've stayed in Zambia. This is a country that I know. It's a country that even if you walk in their locations, you don't walk with 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝘁𝗶 kuti panapa ndichaitwa zvakati. KuZambia if vakangonzwa kuti kawarara mbavha, unorohwa ukafa kuZambia. Akubiwe. Mbavha dzorohwa. Kunobiwa but mbavha dzorohwa kuZambia. It's a very safe country for foreigners. I don't know why Chinamasa and Benson Matinyarare have decided to target their president, to target Zambians. For what reason? You don't understand. So, it is a country, ladies and gentlemen, that you find there is no history of social tensions in Zambia. No history of ethnic tensions in Zambia. And its people do not suffer this economic opportunity Zimbabweans suffer. If you come to Zambia, if you come to England today, you can count how many Zambians are in this country. You can hardly find a Zambian in this country being an asylum seeker. In England, since I came to this country, I saw one Zambian woman. One. No, I saw two. Since I came to UK in 2008, where I live, I saw two Zambians. One Zambian I met was a patient when I was a student nurse. I met her in a ward. I was surprised. We sat down, we talked a lot about Zambia. She was surprised that I've lived in Zambia. She was so lovable, lovely. The second Zambian I met was a girlfriend of my colleague. I had a friend who used to live around, who used to hang with me around here from Zimbabwe. He's now in Liverpool. This guy had a Zambian girlfriend. Angakanaka mwana. Angakanaka. Although Mazambians anofara kanoshabira. Hawa pili ndivakonda ine ndivakonda. Hamuna hawa ndivakonda ine ndivakonda. Ndifunayo pamkazi wawo ndisasaneya. Iyaya o iyaya o iye iyaya o iyaya o iye iyaya. Ndifunayo pamkazi wawo ndisasaneya. Ekende okay aya. Unonakirwa uri pasija apa Zambia. Nari kumbati pasija tu. Irero achimwene ine ndiulendo tu kusija Zambia ande mruono. This is where we survived, where we got our food, where we go for hospitals, a compassionate country, a passion country, a country of heart. You cannot attack such a president who's allowing you. Dara azumuri makajera. Aiwa, chandruku imba ichikaji. Rainzi chiko bendi rare. Rainzi amayenge. Bendi rimwe raibva kuZambia. Rainzi amayenge rekulusaka. Naiwa pili ndivakonda ine ndivakonda. Amuna hawa ndivakonda ine ndivakonda. Ndifunayo pamkazi wawo ndisasaneya. Iyaya o awo iyaya o iye iyaya. Aiwa inonzi amayenge. Rainakidza bendi iroro. Understand? From Zambia. So you find that it's a very safe country, Zambia. There is no need of Benson Matinyarare and Patrick Chinamasa to attack Zambians, to attack their president, to confess that they killed Levi Mwanawasa. Imagine, if you go to Zambia today and say you are ZANU-PF, honestly, they are not going to treat you nicely. Because you have killed their lovely president. So it is a diplomatic role between these two nations. Zvimwe zvinhu kana tichitanga kuenda pa social media apa ngatisafarisai ngatizive mashoko ekutaura because mashoko akataurwa na Benson Matinyararire apinza Zimbabwe pa tight now. Chirakashi chachibhadhare mpana Benson. Chirakashi chachibhadhare Patrick Chinamasa. Regai muone kuti Patrick Chinamasa How old is Patrick Chinamasa? This is why you see he is so reckless with words. I want to show you how old is Patrick Chinamasa. Patrick Chinamasa himself. China Master. Patrick China Master. If you want to see how old Patrick Chinamasa is, he was born in 1947. 25 January 1947. Regai ndicalculate udani makore mangane uzvapo. Pane vanhu here pana ndikona 76 people. Kana one akada love and like nas. Makanyatsoteerera muri sei? Shoko ri kubaya. Dai ndirikagara pana vandiri pastor ndikodaidzira kuti bhuku pomboverengwa vhesi ndoparidza. Apa ndiri kuti ngaticalculate kuti munhu wa1947. Munhu wa1947, sorry guys, bobo ndiyacho. 1947, tinogorani 2028, 2023, sorry. Ndanatopinda 2028. 1. 12 minus 4, 8. 81 years. Imbo wakomana yo. Munane 81 years. Tutara munane 81 years. And 76. Asinda nyepa era. Mera idon. 1942 plus 76. Ayo wakazviitika komana. 10, 11, 1 girl 2. But 2018 ndopangane 76 ka. SCJ. 2018 he was 76 years old. He's now 81. 81 years. Let's say he's talking about Zimbabwe's future at 81 years. What is he gonna provide you that he failed to provide in last 43 years? An 81-year-old idiot who is targeting to kill probably a 60-year or 50 years old Hakainde. He was born in 1947 years. 25 January 1947. Ndoba akaberekwa Patrick Chinamasa. Ndiye munhu ari kukonzera diplomatic war, a war between munhu ndachitaura ndikati Chinamasa dai ndiri ndini munhu angagwa ndaisa Chinamasa pa-end of life because makore asvika aya is now a useless bugger. Munhu akutoda kutsvangurwa. Now if he goes to the toilet, Patrick Chinamasa cannot clean his bum properly. He needs someone to wipe and clean him. Ejidzozi not one delirium. Remember last time when we were talking about Mdara Mdara ane delirium. Remember that. When we were talking about Mdara would ane is aurwara nechirwere chino delirium. Vanhu vakati Shapiro urikuwanza ndika no, I'm diagonizing him because he has lost his marbles. He definitely lost his marbles. Even if you listen to Chinamasa, you can tell that this man is confused. Hakuna murume mkuru akakwana anoendesa skippy bean pamusika. Wenda unocheka ribbon. Kucheka ribbon, let's speak skippy bean. You can tell that this gentleman is disoriented somewhere. You cannot. You can tell his mind is clouded. This gentleman cannot think properly now. You see, he's just wandering. His mind wanders. His mind is diseased. At that age, toilet, someone needs to clean him properly. Because akamuka some cleaner, anufamba chinuwa matuzi. Mugabe honoruseka naye kuma honest. Ona Mugabe aifamba nanhu aitsvangura wani. Achidirwa achikrinwa bottom kana abva kunodhota. Nai. Chinamasa zvine zvamunhu akufamba nemunhu anomutsvangura. He can't do it himself. This is the same person wamuri kutrasta nekutonga nyika. Munhu who is now suffering with confusion. Saka ndoshamisika kuti unotoona vanhu veZANU-PF vafana vachiti pfeku munhu ari disorientated. He has got a memory impairment. That gentleman now, he does not think properly. His thinking is disordered. Hakuna munhu ari normal anoziva ma-diplomatic cause anofamba achitaura kuti takauraya Levi mwana wasa. Ndopanonyatsokuona kuti hadzichashandi pfungwa. Hadzichashandi pfungwa. Those are delusions. Chinamasa is delusional. Ndozvatingakwanisa kukumbira vanhu vekuZambia at this juncture kuti tiregerereiwo maZimbabweans nekuti munhu ari kutaura is delusional. Someone who is suffering from memory impairment. Chinamasa munhu akutoenda 82 years akutofamba nemunhu anomutsvangura akaenda kutoilet anoda kucleanwa. Chinamasa haachakwanisi. I think kana paanenge agara neweti inenge ichierera anenge achinhuhwa weti ndarauya, then we expect him kuti ave ataure zvinhu zviri diplomatic. We need to go and apologize to Zambia. We need to apologize to the people of Zambians. To Zambians, we need to apologize to the people of Zambia. We need to apologize. Because varakasha vakao, they're just young people varungopuwa mari dzekuenda noise pa social media. Hafana vana Benson varungodya vakarara mari dzengopuwa vachita noise. Haachazivi zvekutaura. Akutaura semunhu ne memory impairment. Imagine kuti dai maZambians vakagumbuka. With this military mightiness that Zambia has, the power of their military, vakataura kuti takaurayirwa president wedu hondo neZimbabwe. Zimbabwe inotorwa just 1 day, 2 days, 1 week. Zimbabwe itoita kutotongwa nemaZambians. Because ndikada kufunga mari iri kuraswa neZANU-PF vachibhadhara varakashi. Just imagine paying Benson Matinyararire to attack Zambia. Paying Emerson Mnangagwa is paying Benson Matinyararire to say rubbish about Zambia, to confess about killing of Levi mwana wasa. Zimbabweans have killed Zambian president, a sitting Zambian president. And this has been confessed by a ZANU-PF activist. Let's think of, imagine all these monies that are being used to pay this Benson and Chinamasa to say rubbish on the internet. If that money was spent on good use, kutaura kwaturi tine highways in our country. Ngadatisina on chairman welfare in our country. By now we should have individuals wanoenda kuzvipatara muZimbabwe nemari idzodzo. But surprisingly, ZANU-PF and ED Mnangagwa are paying Chinamasa to say that rubbish, to say that shit, to say, look, I've killed Levi mwana wasa. We killed Levi mwana wasa. We are confessing. Takutange Levi mwana wasa ari kumuka. Kutanga kuita ngozi muZimbabwe, yangozi. Yekuti vanhu vakuhumana vakamuuraya. Because I remember kuti vana Chinamasa nana ED Mnangagwa, they used to accompany Mugabe to Zambia a lot during Levi mwana wasa's time. So they could have poisoned him. You can't rule that one out. Now Levi mwana wasa chakumuka manje. Vakuhumana nezano. We need to apologize, guys. We need to apologize to Zambia so that Zambians can continue to provide us health care, can continue to provide us with food. If they close their border today, vakatoenda kuZambia kwakuda visa, suffer, we're going to suffer. We will suffer a lot. If Zambians say crossing into Zambia, you need a visa, we will suffer a lot. So by now the world understands Zimbabwe. By now the world understands ZANU-PF. By now the world understands who is Benson Matinyararire and who is Patrick Chinamasa. These are people being used by ZANU-PF to kill sitting presidents. They are paying the killing of 𝗂𝗱𝗲𝗄. 𝗘𝗹𝗲𝗰𝗂𝗀𝗃 has been invited to Zimbabwe and was paid to go and kill 𝗂𝗱𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃 there. And the people that are there, and the people that live there in Zambia are not happy. They are not happy. Because the nature of Zimbabwe, foreign policy, is not so friendly. We have got a political party running the country that thinks of killing every time they talk about killing people. They don't talk about development. They talk about killing a neighboring president. They are plotting to kill a sitting president in Zambia. This is ZANU-PF for you. Instead of them broadcasting their goals for the election that they stole, they don't concentrate on running their country. They don't concentrate on providing for starving Zimbabweans, suffering Zimbabweans. They are busy talking about killing 𝗂𝗱𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃. For what reason? For being chairperson of a rotational organization. He is just there because it's his country's turn. You cannot kill him for that. Coincidentally, he made the elections and condemned them. He is not the one who condemned them. He sent observer mission there. Go, guys, who observe their elections. And I'm 𝗂𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 Chirindo, you are the man who I respect since I started knowing you. Thank you so much. Because we need to say the truth, 𝗂𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗃. We definitely need to say the truth. If we don't say the truth, we are being driven by an 81-year-old Chinamasa who cannot provide activities of daily living on himself. He can't feed himself, Chinamasa. He can't clean his bum after using the toilet. He needs someone to clean him. He's someone with mental impairment now. He just sits there and he's incontinent. Sit there, urinate on himself. Then people want to listen to such type of people. We need to be very careful of who we follow. Instead of them broadcasting their values and goals, they are busy attacking Zambia, busy attacking 𝗂𝗱𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃. Do you know that he is the only Zambian president who escaped assassination in that country about 5 times? 𝗂𝗱𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃 escaped assassination in that country about 5 times. And it won't surprise us now that the people who wanted to assassinate 𝗂𝗱𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃 were paid by ZANU-PF. Before he became president, he was a very strong opposition leader. Very strong opposition leader. And he escaped assassination more than 5 times. And probably the hitmen were hired by ZANU-PF to go and assassinate him. Because I don't understand their frustration. I don't understand their hate about 𝗂𝗱𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃. They have failed to resuscitate the economy of Zimbabwe. They are frustrated. I used to tell them, when I started doing lives on Facebook, I used to tell them, guys, look, Zimbabwe's economy was based on agriculture. It was an agrarian economy. Once you destroy agriculture, you destroy the economy of Zimbabwe. Now people are scratching for gold, scratching for diamonds, destroying mountains, causing environmental dangers, trying to survive. Our country was not like that. It was an agrarian, it enjoyed an agrarian reform. So we need now to go back to that status quo. We need to go back to that status. Because of the type of weather we have in Zimbabwe. We can do farming, can do anything. But we need to re-commercialize the farms. Even if it means re-commercialize under black people. We need that. We need that. But we need expertise in current agricultural techniques and techniques that are used elsewhere in the world. We need that. We are a global family. We should be using global techniques to do modern farming and produce more food for our people. so that we can grow our economy again. It can be supplemented by these natural resources, but these are perishable. Natural resources, once you dig them, you won't return them to the soil again. Once they go, they go. Msasara mune makomba, nyika isina chainacho. This is why we are saying we need a new government. We need President Nelson Chamisa. We need a president who is going to build Zimbabwe with those natural resources. Ati the president anono tora achinotengesa ku China, achivaka ku China neku Dubai. Vana Mugabe vane mansions and mansions. Kunana Dubai, vana Chiwenga. Mary Chiwenga vaka ku China ne mansions ku China. And businesses ku China. Whilst our country is suffering. This is why there's still election. Anzine zanu HH apururwe my helicopters. They are very stupid. Because those are relations, very good relations between America and Zambia. These people, vaijikidzana kubva kudhara. Vaijikidzana kubva kudhara. Zimbabwe inopiwa wani rice, inopiwa wani chibage chinobva ku America. Why can't they complain? Ukataza USAID yechikafu chinouya ku Zimbabwe. Unomira ho. Kuna matanzi nematanzi echibage vachipiwa vachidya. They don't complain. America, our Americans vangona kuti Zambia yakalekawo pakati ngativabatsire. Yatove mhosva. Because you are not being helped. Turikuona maChina arimo muZimbabwe, maChinese soldiers. Vari kuimba shona vachienda kumabhesi vachitraina maZimbabwe soldiers. Zambia never complained about it. So I don't know why they complain. Vakapuwa helicopters 18. Avakati akapuwa neRussia. You never heard Zambians complaining. Zambia never complained why Zimbabwe got those helicopters from Russia. They never complained. But Zambia ngopuwa former helicopters training Zimbabwe yachema. Why? Why are you crying? You understand? Because if Zimbabwe now, kana ida kuona kuti Zimbabwe is rubbish, it's useless, let them attack Zambia. If they want to see the military might the Zambians have, let them attack Zambia. Because Zimbabwe wants to be an aggressor. So if they want to continue with aggression, go and attack Zambia militarily. Go on Zambian soil. Because right now Zimbabwe is under scrutiny now. Any attack on Zambia, Zimbabwe will face the consequences. And Zambia can retaliate in any means necessary. But this is aggression. You cannot stop Zambia kujidzana nenyika dzainoda. Imochidzana nemaChina. MaChina arimo muZimbabwe arutakura lithium arikuenda nayo. Matombo ekweswa kunonzi kuna Mutoko arutakurwa arikuenda. Varutakura miti, varutakura topsoil, nzou dziri kuenda. Takatarisa. Zambians have never complained. Makauya nemahelicopter, makauya nawo mukatapuwa mahelicopter, mukauya nemabhasi tabva nawo Belarus. You never heard Zambians complaining about your buses, about your helicopters. Why are you complaining about Zambia receiving helicopters from America? Vakangwara vanopuwa zvinoshanda. Anoona. Saka this verbal diarrhea from ZANU-PF is unfortunate. The verbal diarrhea from Benson Matinyara and Patrick Chinamasa, this is irresponsible. This reflects the type of leader they have. Their leader, and a verbal diarrhea as well. If you look at Zambia, ladies and gentlemen, it is a country that has shaped the role of SADC. The role of SADC was shaped by Zambia. This is what you politics zao dzakanaka mazambians vanda kutapirirwa nepolitics zao. Andimona. Kana vachida hondo maZANU-PF neZambia, just declare the war and you suffer the consequences. Zambia is not going to smile at you. Don't ever think that Zambians will smile at you, man. Kana vafunga chato chimurenga yacho munotsva muZimbabwe kutsva. Bosi ndiri kufunga. Do you know kuti we share probably the longest border SADC, we share it with Zambia. Probably, if it's not Mozambique, but we share, I think it's the second longest border that we share. Because the longest is Zambia. I mean, it's the Mozambican border. Then we share it with Zambia. Saka, do you know, we have got a lot of conflicts, a lot of common things that we share with Zambia, which can spark a slight conflict that can spark a war. Imbona, if you read history, history, kuna Indo-China War, yakaitwa 1962. That war resulted, it was a result of a border dispute between China and India. Ndobva hondo vachaputika. India got defeated in that war. But China has a call for ceasefire hondo ichibva yapera. But India was defeated in that war. It was just a small border dispute that sparked that war in 1962. Saka kana muchidena dzimwe nyika dzakaita sana Zambia, whilst you share the same borders, expect that to happen. It's unfortunate that Mnangagwa is overzealous at this juncture. He is overzealous. Kana mune president are overzealous, mnenge makwara. Because munaruta fantasize in this juncture is fantasizing. I can take my forces. I can go to the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. I can erect my tents. I can dig trenches. And I can move heavy equipment towards them to protect my territory. It's just fantasizing. Inside his head, I don't want to defeat Zambia militarily. But unfortunately, Zimbabwe has got no strong army at this juncture, no equipment. We cannot sustain a war. Magazona, when we went to DRC, the DRC exposed the Zimbabweans a lot. That war exposed us a lot. Kana pane vanhu vasinoziva hondo DRC yaya, it exposed the Zimbabweans a lot. It had no economic gains for the country. We had no territorial gain for the country. We gained nothing in that country. We lost nationalism in that country. We lost militarism in that country. We became exposed to other nations. Kana mukada kunza hondo munyika, tinongorohwa tichisekerera. And that war did not bring any benefit to our country. Instead, it removed the civilization. Now we are very uncivilized because we can't cope up with the global development. We can't. Saka hondo yoya makana yakati takasara mune zvakawanda. Even technological development, Zimbabwe lagged behind. We are behind other countries with handizoti makore mangana. What came out of that war in DRC, it was chaos. It was chaos. No order came out of that country. Ukada kutasa even masoja acho akaenda ikoko hapana akabenefita chakabenefita. And that war did not bring peace in DRC. The war is still raging on. But since we left, we left a lot of people, a lot of soldiers in DRC bushes who died in that war. That war claimed a lot of civilians. That war claimed civilians, diseases, akasarariko, vanhu vakauya mumaZimbabweans vazhinji vacho vakaenda kweko vari kupenga nanhasi. Saka you see that kuti hapana chatakabenefita in that war. Chekuti tingatomira nhasi takabatsira Congo, ikatibatsira in education, ikatibatsira in health system. It only brought traumatic conditions to our soldiers, traumatic conditions to the people of Zimbabwe. Cleaned? Titi? Cleaned? I don't know, I can hear a knock somewhere. Adiri maona nyaya dzatikuta. Saka, we need to promote peace, guys. If we don't promote peace between Zimbabwe and Zambia, we are going to be humiliated in Zambia. We must admit to the people of Zambians that whatever Chinamasa said, it was a mistake. ZANU-PF need to admit. ZANU-PF need to rein Benson Matinyararire. If they don't rein him, we know he's doing this with the blessings of Emmerson Mnangagwa. Because Zimbabweans must be open to learning. We must learn our mistakes. We are not always right. This is what ZANU-PF must admit to the people of Zambia and ask for forgiveness. Otherwise, the death of Mwanawasa Levy will hound Zimbabwe. It can cause a diplomatic row that can even spark a war between Zambia and Zimbabwe. Because of Zimbabwe's confession. It's not Zambia that confessed. Zambians are quiet. But the Zimbabweans went to confess that we killed Levi Mwanawasa. You understand? Saga pakaipa government, ladies and gentlemen. This, I never expected this from ZANU-PF. Showing that they are careless with words, showing that they are careless with the diplomats. They are not respecting Zambians. Zambians are people that need respect. So, Zimbabwe has been fighting for reversing all the gains of Chimurenga War. This is why Mdara kune Mdara akafa nezuro kuchikurubu. Mdara taimuti wandinzwa kurema. Kana kuti ainzi Renius Chiwakaya. Ndakashanda naye Mdara yoyo kuhead office. Chiwakaya ndakuvhara. Ndoda kutaura nyaya yaChiwakaya. Chiwakaya anga ari mudie-hard ZANU-PF. But ari kunzi recently, after the elections, hanzi akataura kuti Mnangagwa adyiwa. I don't know what is happening in prison. Akataura kuti Mnangagwa adyiwa, why can't he have handover power? Nyika topa wafana wakadzidza vadevelop. Isakarwa hondo kudhara, we took over the country. So let's pass the baton on to the young generation to develop the country. Shikanzi, what happened next? He collapsed. Shikanzi had stroke. Then he died. Sakaparukunzi, people are suspecting that he was poisoned. Ininda asikawirira naye zvangu Mdara. Atasinganyatsoonana. Bozi Mdara ainyenga stereka. Anga riri hure. Unoziva rume anonzi mahure ayaya. Ya, wakamira kanzwa kuti baba vaihure. Ndo zvakaita Renius Chiwakaya. Ainzi wandinzwa kurema. Akakaroora shamwari yangu. I had a friend and I will run yesterday. That girl was my good friend when I was still in Chikurubi. But since I left Chikurubi, I've never spoken to her. Akaroorwa, akasiya murume wake shamwari yangu futi mwe ndaiwirirana naye mupana akazoenda kusupport unit. Akaramba kamupana kamurume kechipfana kaizvinzwa. Akanotora dhara rake. Chinomutsura kuti shamwari chiko chiri kuitika pana zvikashapiro siyana neni ndiye wandiri kuda iye. Apa nhasi chaenda chidhara chacho. Nyaya ndakakonana naye 1 Chiwakaya. Akandoona mumwe musi ndaibva kucollege ndaita risk and loss control. Saka ndakamira padura house muna Samora Masheo kona Samora na Enterprise pipe padura house pipe. Saka ndaimirira malifts ekuenda kumba. Ndobva auya nemotikari aidriver motikari yejeri. Ndobva andoona. Ami ndakandoona sei? Ndobva ati tsvii taishanda tese head office. Vati tsvii. Ndobva tamhanya. Ndobva ndasvika kubva ndapinda. Saka akabva aitaura nemunhu. Yuda. Ndaona iwe mufana anosangana mira. Ndikati maita chef Magona. Saka ndagona ndakutakura bani mufana. Why do you bite the hand that feeds you? Ndikati which one? Saka why do you hate ZANU-PF? So ngati apfutseki mani. Ngati apfutseki Chiwakaya. Zvikazi unozenyako yeda ndakakutonga ndakakudzinga basa kuda dismissed you. Ndikati dismiss sina mhosva mani pfutseki. But akatoniperekedza akanondisiya kumba maona. So to Chiwakaya family and friends, let him rest in peace. Bo ndakanzwa kuti anga achinja anga amunhu ari bo. Zvimwe hatichataure nozi taitaura kuinbox mukavhura hama dzake kana pana ana access neaccount yake kufa kwaita mukaenda inbox wake munoona chat yangu naChiwakaya kubva pakafa nefasi and so forth. Saka quite a lot, we had quite a lot of differences and sometimes aingowiriranawo imwe nyaya naChiwakaya, may he so rest in peace. But ndirikunzwa kuti anzi anenge akaurayirwa muromo, kuurayirwa kutaura. Saka ndakabva ndabva ndafunga amai vangu ndakupedza. Amai vangu vakanditi rimwe zuva zvikanzi kwaive nemumwe murume shepherd aivhima, aive muvhimi, zvikanzi aifamba musango andobva achivhima kudai ndobva asangana nepapakafa munhu akaparara. Hanzi zvakamunetsa seri akati munhu kufa kupararira musango pasina nhambo munhongawo. Hanzi akasvika akamira akatarisa mapfupa anga aripo akati nai munhu wakafa nei? Hanzi mapfupa ndobva ati zii. Zvikanzi wakafa nei? Mapfupa ndobva ati zii. Ndobva mapfupa munhu yakafa akazotambura akati munhu ari kunetseka kauda kuziva ndakafa nei. Bva azomuti ndakaurayiswa nepamuromo. Ando zvaakataura akati ndakaurayiswa nepamuromo. Saka munhu yakabva ashamisika kuti mapfupa ataura. Ndobva amhanya kwamambo kunotaura kwamambo. Zvikanzi mambo, ndachifamba mudunhu menyu ndichivhima, asi pandakwidza padunhu iro pamukwidza ndaona pane munhu akafa, asi akafa akapararira ipapo. Zvikanzi une shuwa iwo? Zvikanzi zvikanzi saka time yandachiitaura nemunhu iyoyo mapfupa aya ndobva andidayira. Ndarohwa neano sandamhanya kundikutsanangurirei. Hanzi mambo akati aiwa iwe unzati madzimambo kare anga asingasimudzirwe mahara. Mambo akati aiwa sakandisimudzira mahara mupanhaka. Zvikanzi ndokuita sei? Zvikanzi munondiuraya zvenyu. Zvikanzi une shuwa? Zvikanzi zvikanzi majinda andei tungamirira tenu kune munhu wako. Ndobva asvika paya ndobva ati ko nai munhu wakaurayiwa nei? Mapfupa bva ati zii. Ko munhu wakaurayiwa nei? Mapfupa bva ati zii. Ndobva atarisa mambo, atarisa majinda haazi kuza musoro. Hanzi akatanga kusweta. Ndobva abvunza futi akati nai munhu wakaurayiwa nei? Mapfupa bva ati zii. Kana mambo zvikanzi handiwaona shamwari kundishandisa mahara. Futseki bayai munhu. Vanzi jujuju nemapfumo ndobva afa ipapo. Mambo ndobva adzokera nevanhu vake. Hanzi achingodzokera vanhu vaya vasangana mumhepo. Zvikanzi nemunhu iye zvikanzi ndambokutsura shamwari. Ndambokuudza, ndakuudza ndakaurayiwa nepamuromo. Iwe wakumhanya unotaura pamuromo futi. Wona waurayiwa. Hanzi ndakaurayiwa nepamuromo. Saka Chiwakaya hanzi aurayiwa nepamuromo. Hameno zvaakataura pamaelections apa kunzi akataura kuti dai vamunangagwa vangosiya vapawo chamisawo chahwina yeye atonge vafanha vagadzire nyika ndo vakadzidza isitakura. Hanzi ndo mashoko akataurwa futi naSanyatwe kuTanzania kwaanga ari ambassador akati aiwa vamunangagwa vadyiwa dai vachingosiyawo vapa chamisawo chaatonge. Zvikanzi mashoko akabva asvika kuHarare zvikanzi ndozvitaurwa nani? naSanyatwe. Saka zviri kunzi Sanyatwe akatonzi rongedza back to Harare. Kwaakuenda kuAbattoir. It's a killing room. Saka akanzi ngaadzoka aurayiwe. Saka ndofunga Sanyatwe ari kurongedza. Mwana wacho ambondisendera message achipenga, uri kunyepa. Ndikati aiwaka ini ndine inside information mwana wamai. Ndikutokuudza kana baba vako asina kukuudza kuti vanzi varongedze vabve kuTanzania as soon as possible, muri kutotuta kutodzoka kuZimbabwe. And mudhara wako gore rino rinouya akapedza ari mupenyu undibvunze. Saka chii? Ndikati ari kuenda kuPorto kunobikwa. Andova saka hanzi Idi akati ngaauya apinda aitechi adzokere kuarmy. Saka anenge ari kutodzoka unopfeka uniform futi zvoambassador kuzvaramba nemashoko. Hanzi ndakaurayiwa nepamuromo. Saka ladies and gentlemen, for tonight regai ndisire pano. Ndobva ndati dhirihora vakomana dhirihora rembanje ivo vakomana vanogara mudhiriho dhirihora rembanje vanogara mudhiriho usatambe navo vanogara mudhiriho dhirihora rembanje vanogara mudhiriho dhirihora vakomana dhirihora rembanje vanogara mudhiriho dhirihora vairo vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje mudhiriwo vakomana vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo rarembanje vanogara mudhiriwo dhiriwo ravakoma. Good night. Musara zvakanaka naye. Night night. Pashata.